Call to order the DeKalb Board of Education Community Input Meeting, Monday, November 4th, 2013. This afternoon, before we have our speakers, I would like to ask our Vice Chair, Mr. McMahon, to read the guidelines.
Thank you, Chairman. The guidelines for public comments are, well, first of all, welcome to the community input meeting. In accordance with Board Policy BCBI, public speaking at board meetings, each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. The community input meeting will be a maximum of 1 hour or 20 speakers, and it's limited to topics concerning the management and operations of the school district. It shall be out of order to any citizen to attack verbally an employee of the school district in a public meeting. For purpose of public comment, an employee does not include the superintendent or any member of the DeKalb County Board of Education. The board will not allow abusive language, threats, jeers, comments, applause, or shouts from the floor. In the event that happens, we will ask the disruptive person to leave the meeting room. Also, the board is here to listen to input. This meeting is not the forum for the board to respond to comments, given that the board would not have had the time to consider and deliberate regarding comments presented here today. If you have any handouts, please give them to Ms. Tyson, sitting on the front row. Thank you for your time.
At this time, I would call 5 speakers at a time. The first 5 would be Marnie Mayo, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this next name, but I'm going to try at E.I. No, Parsa Faro, and Faria Marshall, Sandy Perquette. Okay, please.
Hello. My name is Marnie Mayo. I'm sorry, is that better?
That's
okay.
Better.
People hear what they choose to hear and see what they choose to see. Nowhere is that more obvious to me than in the speakers that tend to come before this board.
The reason for the differential of about 9 minutes.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You know,
Greetings. My name is Parsa Frugi, and I am a student from the International Community School. I am in the 2nd grade, and I've been at ICS since the kindergarten. ICS welcomes everyone, doesn't leave anyone out. ICS is like the world, and people from different countries come to ICS where they are appreciated. ICS welcomes refugees, immigrant, and native-born children. Even if you are from a country on the other side of the world. When you come to ICS, you'll feel joyful. My family is a good example of that. My parents had to flee from Iran because of the war and our religious beliefs. However, at my school, my family and I celebrate for who we are. And what is real cool is that I have friends from all over the world, like Iran, Burmese, Thailand, Nepal, USA, and Somalia. Please find some time to visit my amazing school, and you will see the importance of reviewing our charter. Thank you.
thank you, Parsa.
Good evening. My name is Faria Marshall. I'm a single mother with 2 kids, and I have very hard time with my old son. He got IP, and I don't know that. I have to go ask each school how to provide him to have education better to understand. And whatever school I go, they say to me, it's language barrier. It was not language barrier. He got a speech. Since I made ICS, they give me beautiful. He's speaking. He understanding. They told me, don't worry, he can make it. Try this. Don't give up. When I listened to each teacher, they told me, don't rush him. I don't speak with him my language because I want him to speak fluent English. But ICS, it was my home. If I go any place, I will not find like ICS. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Ms. Parquette. Ms. Viola Davis. Mr. Willie Pringle. Mr. Joel Edwards. Ms. Keisha Thompson. Rhonda Ward.
Viola Davis with the Restore DeKalb. I want to talk to the parents and homeowners who are listening right now. I need to explain to you why we're here today. On September the 12th, we hand-delivered a document here dealing with a serious matter, and that matter was harassment. Now, that is something that you handle here at the school system, but the reason we became involved is because when you have harassment and you're trying to bring attention to it, there is a time that you have retaliation. Now, the superintendent asked us, when you see retaliation, document it and get it back to us. Now, we delivered that documentation to you. Unfortunately, we did not get any acknowledgement that you have received it. A month goes by, or should I say 2 weeks, we send a second notice, no acknowledgement. Then after a month, we still don't receive an acknowledgement. So we send another letter saying, this is the problem we have, and this is the retaliation. You have to address it, because if you don't, in retaliating, what they're jeopardizing is our children. Because when they go and do adult mess, like the superintendent said before, and they try to attack some of the drivers, bus drivers, when they do this, if the bus drivers make a mistake, that mistake is our children. We had no choice but to put all these documents online, because if you're not going to acknowledge that you have received it, and 2 of you asked that we send it back out, we went and on Restore DeKalb, we put every one of those documents online. And we are going to have the parents and the homeowners, you go on restoredekalb.org and you read these documents and you ask yourself, was it worth somebody withholding these documents from the board and the superintendent? Not only did they withhold those documents dealing with harassment and retaliation, they withhold, or we will also deal with an open records dealing with the 204 compensation. The Office of Internal Affairs is involved in both of these sets of documents. We ask you to do a major investigation into the Office of Internal Affairs. And we're asking you again, here publicly, because we're putting you officially on notice. If but one child gets hurt behind this adult mess, it won't be a mistake. It will be negligence.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
I would like to say good evening. First, giving honor to God, thanking Him for allowing me to be here, to be able to speak to the board, to Mr. Thurman, to Dr. Johnson, and to the board members. I come as a parent. I come as a volunteer. I come because I'm very disturbed to see how our school continue to go down the pathway of neglecting our children. I'm here to ask the question about the money. And I'm looking at the money that here right now, it said the DeKalb School Board extend law firm contract. When I'm looking at the kind of money that here you're talking about extending a contract, I have some real serious issues with that. And when I'm looking at here we have employees, teachers, that here have not had a raise in 5 or more years, but when you can find $750,000 to pay a law firm, I got some real problem with that. What's going on here? Mr. Thurman, I got to say, with all due respect, please don't come in and get caught up with this dysfunctional school system that we've been dealing with for years. Because God is not pleased. He's pulling the cover off of sin now. Because why? When I'm looking at right now the trial that's going on, I'm looking at our children are failing in the classroom. When we look at, we got teachers leaving out the classroom, 20 to 30 some teachers at Southwest, not 30 at Southwest, but at Chapel Hill, over 20 some at Southwest. It's a problem there. Our children are being set up for the penal institution instead of the university. Also, I'm looking at when you got former employees have not had their due right in the process of the legal arena. We are still paying lawyers for cases that should have been settled years ago. Why is it that here I look at a principal have not gotten her due process, Dr. Butler? How long are we going to continue to pay these lawyers? That's for our children education. Mr. Thurman, please, I beg you, don't get caught up. Because I can assure you, until some of them start going to prison for stealing all this money, we're going to continue to have this. And this should not be. And I pray to God that our board representative, please open your eyes up. And Mr. Dave Campbell, you're supposed to be representing us at Southwest. Where are you? We got some serious issues, Mr. Campbell, but we don't see you around. I understand you was appointed, but being appointed and being involved is two different issues, because our children are suffering here, and I'm saying to you, please step up, show your face, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pringle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To the chairman of the board, the superintendent, Mr. Michael Thurman, board members, administration of this district. I am a member of the Restore DeKalb, but at this point in time, I have something else I would like to say. At this time, we have a principal, assistant principal, who works at Shadow Rock School and has been in the hospital for 101 days awaiting a heart. My family is contributing a total of $800 toward the expenditure of him seeking a heart. We're asking this district to also come together and maybe contribute some money toward the expense of him getting a heart. As you all know, heart disease and breast cancer is one of the major illnesses in our society today. On the other hand, we have, I was privy to attend the memorial service of Donna Gail Eldler. It was good homegoing, and it was really good to see the board members present on that day. And I'd like to make a recommendation. Since she was a board member and she died of breast cancer, which affects a whole lot of ladies, women, and men, I want to make a proposal that we name a school in the name of Donna Gail Eldler with a symbol of a pink logo or pink symbol under her name. And that will be continue her legacy. Number 3, every year the Joseph Lowry Institute, under the leadership of Evelyn Lowry, has a heritage tour from March 8th, March 9th, that leads from Atlanta going to Birmingham, Selma, Alabama, Marion, Alabama, and back to Montgomery, and then going back to Selma to the Edmund Pettus Bridge March. Mr. Thurman, being the superintendent and being also a historian and a writer of history, we're asking that DeKalb County School sponsor maybe 2 buses of children and teachers to this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Good evening, Mr. Thurman, board members. My name is, let me bring it down for you. Can you hear me now? Yeah. My name is Keisha Thompson, and I'm speaking in reference to the closing of Clifton Elementary in 2015. I have 2 kids who attend that school. My issue with the closing is that Clifton is on a main street, and you're going to put this nice, pretty school in the middle of a subdivision or a neighborhood to where the school has been closed for at least 2 years, going on 3 now. And I know as a cop, I work for the city of Conyers, there are drug houses across from the school. The school will be on Vicky Lane. This is off Gresham Road. There will be plenty of traffic. There will be no way for anyone to get in. My issue is that Clifton sits on a main street. It has all of this property, therefore where you're trying to put the new school, there is no property, no land to build additional stuff on. You're just going to be able to put this big, pretty school in the middle of land where nothing else can be accomplished. We have, for Clifton, the kids go to Gresham Park for after school, therefore meaning if they go to the new school, which is going to be Gresham Park, they have to come out the school, walk down Gresham Road to get to the after school care. That becomes a bigger issue, because what happens to the transportation, what happens to the kids? Is this an issue that we're willing to look at? My issue is that I'm asking that you take the time to go over to this neighborhood and to look at it, because this was a actual decision that was made with the other board and not with you guys. And I just want you to look at it and see, is this a real good decision for y'all to do? Because personally, I wouldn't want my kids in that neighborhood, being of what my job is and what I've seen, and I'm 33 and I have lived in this community my whole life, and I know what goes on in this neighborhood. And we have other parents who feel the same way. I would just like for y'all to take the time to see that it's not good. I used to work for DeKalb County, so I know how many roadblocks are put up, how many drug busts have been made over there. We have different things as far as crackheads and dope dealers and everything that's going to be around this school. So can you afford me to let me know that there are going to be additional things put up to help these things stop, that my child will be safe at this school? Because as of right now, I don't feel that my kids will be safe at this new school that is going to be secluded off in a neighborhood. That is my only thing I have to say.
Thanks for your comments, Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, Board. My name is Rhonda Ward. I met with you all sometime in May regarding the school closures of Meadowview and Clifton. At that time, I advised you that the community at large did not feel that this concept was vetted properly. I do understand that this is a new board, but I think in your vote that you're looking very short-sightedly. We have 4 schools that will be closed in our area, in our immediate area. What will happen to these schools? There have been many proposals, some of which was that they would be leased. If they are leased to a charter school, do not underestimate the community's ability to want to go to the charter school, as they do offer amenities that, DeKalb County does not have. So if we are going to close 2 additional schools, making it a total of 4, the money is following the child, then you're going to lose in the end. You're never going to be able to fill a 900 capacity school. And what works for our area, as we've said before, is a smaller school size. We look at McNair Discovery. It is a beautiful school, but they are not making the grade. You have 2 phenomenal administrators with Meadowview and Clifton who are making the grade despite the challenges that they had with the other school closings. And to condense those Title I schools into one big area without the support, they will fail. And I'd like to know from the board, what do they plan to do? This is not something that has been shown to be conducive to the growth of the children, as we see that the other schools in the area are failing. The other component to that is a crime. We've just spent money as taxpayers to renovate the community center across the street from Clifton, only for that school to be torn down or leased or decommissioned. It is not prudent to do it. We want you all to take another look at the decisions that you have made, because it seems short-sighted, and we cannot be balanced in our budget on our kids. There's no alternative school for the elementary school students. Make one of those. We know that there are behavioral challenges, in our county and in our district. Why not keep those schools open as an alternative, or at least one? Smoke Rise does not have the same accommodations as we. Why is Smoke Rise not getting a 900 capacity school? My community is just as important.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. I'll get it later. The next 5 names: Mr. David Shetton, Ms. Andrea Johnson, Mr. Jay Cunningham, Alina Hicks King, Carla Weston Brown.
Good evening, Mr. Thurman, Dr. Johnson, members of the board. You've heard me address concerns of many people in the community concerning the Druid Hills Charter Cluster petition on several occasions. The school system's response to the petition pointed out many additional flaws. 37 pages, you can view it online. The petitioners should be required to address these concerns in detail. If they're unwilling or unable to address them, the charter should be denied. Do not allow yourselves to be bullied by the petitioners, the Georgia Charter Schools Association, or their high-priced attorneys. The State Charter Commission proved that they will not rubber stamp any charter petition that comes before them if it's not a worthy charter petition. You must look at the impact on this charter petition on every student in DeKalb County. What happens if the school system is overhead is over 3%? The rest of the students are going to suffer, so the schools in this one area get more money. After reviewing the law with several attorneys, and you will be getting a letter from some constitutional lawyers shortly, the vote appears to be legal. We went through the law line by line, word by word. Nowhere does the law state a parent receives 1 vote per child. Nowhere does it state that. That's an aberration of the law. The petitioners constantly say they followed the law. However, to many people, except for them, the voting was conducted in an immoral and unethical manner. Who counts their own votes? Who counts their own votes? Mr. Thurman, if you had been able to count your votes, you would be in Washington, D.C., not here in DeKalb County. The foundation of the petition is built on quicksand mud and shaky ground. Mr. Orson, you should recuse yourself because of your bias, and that's proven by the fact that you went to many people in Atlanta and misrepresented the position of the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce by saying the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce endorsed this petition. It did not. You cannot misrepresent people. I know homeowners associations, people that live in homeowners associations who gave a letter of support, but those homeowner associations never voted. They went to one person on the board to get a letter of support. Did the Emory president, the Emory Board of Trustees approve this charter? Did people that gave letters of support even read the charter petition before they gave letters of support? I think the answer in most cases is no. No. Most of the people I've talked to have not taken the time to read the petition in detail. The school system response is outstanding. The petitioners must respond in detail to every concern and stop hiding behind this, we don't need to do anything because we followed the law. Stand up for what is right, just like the Georgia Charter School Commission did last week. Just say no.
Thank you, Mr. Shetton. Andrea Johnson.
Hi, everybody. Ooh, those bright lights. Good evening.
Good evening.
You for allowing me a moment. This is my first time in the Board of Education foraying into this forum. I am part of the newly formed Briarcliff Coalition, which has to do with Briarcliff High School, its future, and also something that came about last August when some of the students were offered a tour of the school. My counterparts asked me if I would be happy to speak for them tonight, and I told them that I would in their absence. On behalf of them, what they are still trying to do is get a tour of the school for people that were unable to attend the original tour in August of this year. There isn't really any hidden agenda there. I know that the first tour brought about a lot of pictures and comments on social media and elsewhere that didn't really give any positive, feedback towards the county's treatment of the school and the property. But they wanted me to convey that it's really a heart and soul matter, an opportunity for them to revisit their alma mater before any other future decisions are made, and relive those memories, those places where they made their dreams and such and forth. So mine is a simple request. I don't envy your position here. You have a lot of people with a lot of important issues. But we would like for tours of the school to be reconsidered so that we can go in and visit the school, and then whatever the next steps are, we'll take at that time. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Mr. J. Cunningham, Alina Hicks King, Carla Weston Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come in front of you tonight to also talk about the DeKalb or the Druid Hills Charter School Cluster. Again, I'm asking you to vote no. Why? I think you all have laid out in the AJC as well as laid out to talk about the things that is wrong with this petition. It's not right. It's not fair to the citizens in DeKalb County. It may be fair to some citizens in certain parts of DeKalb, but it's definitely not fair to all the kids and citizens in DeKalb. If you go back and look, one of the things that SACS asked you to do, and one of the problems that was brought up, was making sure that we have a school system that brings equal opportunity to every child and to every parent in the school system. That is one of the actions. By voting yes, you're not following that action. You're saying that you're not giving a chance for every kid and every parent to have an opportunity to have equal access to a quality education. I do understand that people are looking for other choices, but this is not the right choice at this particular time period. I think that petition questions need to be answered. We need to go back and look at it again. I feel that we need to look at looking at charter schools from a cluster standpoint, where we're doing it as through the school system, not going off and giving somebody the latitude to make decisions for kids in certain areas and not having the same latitude in other areas in the DeKalb for that to happen. Mr. Olson, I'm really, I don't want to use the word disappointed, but I think the games have been played for the last 5 years in the La Vista area, as well as the Druid Hills area, to disencredit public schools, to bring charter schools in. That's a choice. I have no problems with charter schools. But at the same time period, we got to make sure that everybody has access to get a good education for all our kids. I think we need to work on the low-performing schools first. If you really want to challenge, let's work on them schools that are not performing. Bring them up to par, and we wouldn't even have this discussion. You wouldn't even be looking for a choice. But until we take care of these low-performing schools and really put the money into it and put the resources into it, then DeKalb County is going to be at the same state regardless of who's on this board. So we need to look at low-performing schools, bring them up to par, then we wouldn't have this discussion. So if Emory and all them folks that are backing this petition, I'm asking you to come to these low-performing schools, put some of that money and resources into them schools, and let's really have a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Now, Mrs. Hicks.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you. Good evening, board members and Mr. Superintendent. My name is Alana Hicks King, and I am a 38-year resident of DeKalb County and a graduate of Cedar Grove High School. This evening, I am representing Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Decatur Alumni Chapter. Our sorority was founded in January 1913 and has over 250 members internationally. The Decatur Alumni Chapter has 250,000 members. The Decatur Alumni Chapter has over 400 members, and we celebrated our 40th anniversary a few weeks ago. For 40 years, our chapter has implemented many public service programs and projects, and I would like to highlight some of the activities as it relates to the relationship with the DeKalb County School District. We have awarded over $195,000 in collegiate scholarships since 2005 to 357 DeKalb County graduating seniors and sponsored 8 college tours since 2006 for 150 DeKalb County students visiting 35 college campuses in 10 states. Our Social Action Committee has registered close to 1,000 DeKalb County residents annually over 20 years. This school year, we have held 8 voter registration drives, and 6 were at high schools: Lakeside, DeKalb School of the Arts, McNair, Chamblee Charter, Clarkston, and Tucker High Schools, and we registered 241 students. There are 16 high schools in our service area, and we are scheduling drives in all of the schools at least once this school year. In the spring, we will host a Stand Your Ground, Know Your Rights rally on the campus of Georgia Perimeter, Clarkston campus, with high school students as the target audience. Additionally, we are pursuing a co-teaching pilot in one of the high school's social studies class to educate students on the voting process and how a bill becomes a law. We appreciate the opportunity to share these events with you and look forward to continuing our strong relationship with the schools of DeKalb County, as well as being a supportive partner with this board and superintendent. Thank you for your time and your interest.
Thank you, Mrs. Hicks. And thank the Deltas for their support.
Good evening. I am Carla Weston Brown, coming before you yet again. Mr. Thurman, last board meeting, I specifically put a letter in your hand. And I received a call the following morning from your secretary stating that she was in receipt of the letter that I had written you, and she would make sure that it got in your hands. How that happened, I don't know, but I still have not heard from you. Don't know if you read it, don't know if you put it on her desk, if you dropped it, someone else put it on her desk, but that just baffled me just a bit. I've come before you all for the past year, actually, to discuss and describe how I was harassed, bullied, and treated unprofessionally by my principal at Redan Middle School. That principal was moved to Salem Middle School, and last year 30 teachers left. There is a problem. I want to ask that you all consider initiating, I know in DeKalb there is an anti-bullying policy as far as students are concerned, I think it's important that now you look into initiating an anti-bullying policy as far as adults are concerned. It is happening. It is rampant throughout the school district. And why you all allow this to happen, I don't understand. It really is systemic. More so on the south side of the county than on the north. But that is something that needs to be looked into seriously. Thank you very much. And once again, I won't back down. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Ms. Brown. Paul Myers, James Waddell, Melissa King Rogers, Tarika Cooper, David Moore.
Board members and Mr. Thurman, thank you for your time. I am a fifth grade teacher at Fernbank Elementary School. I've been there 7 years. Prior to that, I was an executive in the aviation industry, and I'm in here to support the charter. There are many correlations between the aviation industry and the teaching industry. In 3 minutes, I can't get through all those. But I will tell you one thing. When I came into the aviation industry in 1973, deregulation followed me. And from that day forward, we faced change after change after change. That's the way we survived. Now, if you think, or people think, change isn't coming to the education industry, then they should look at Chicago, where they're laying off teachers, closing schools left and right. Or go down to New Orleans, where the city school system is run by a for-profit company. Change is coming. Someone told me there were 3 great fallacies when you're dealing with change. One is you think, can't happen to me. Tell that to people in Chicago. Or I'll always get the second chance. That's not true. Or the worst, I think, is if I do absolutely nothing, things will get better. And if you believe or fall for any of those 3 fallacies, I want you to go out tomorrow and try to buy a ticket on Eastern Airlines, Pan Am, TWA, Braniff, Atlanta Air, Swiss Air, and a plethora of others. Change is here. We survived because we thought like entrepreneurs. And every time we forgot that message, we got in trouble. But the company that I loved and worked for so long made $1 billion last quarter. And they didn't do that by following the status quo. Change is hard. Nobody likes it. But I ask you to think of the opportunities of the charter. Look at it like an entrepreneur, not like someone who believes in the status quo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mears. Mr. Waddell.
Greetings, Superintendent Thurman and Board. My name is James Waddell. I have a sophomore at Southwest. I'm also the unofficial father of 1,300 young Panthers. I am appealing to you all, as I have for the past year, for the need for added security at Southwest. I've talked to Commissioner Thurman, Superintendent Thurman rather, and our Commissioner, Mr. Campbell, and I've been rebuffed at every turn. Ladies and gentlemen, security is utmost important at our schools. Southwest is left with, all we have to pretty much watch our Panthers are one police officer and 2 resource officers. Not enough. Southwest is too exposed. Other schools have more officers than we have. I've been asking pretty much for a patrol car, as Mr. Campbell so well knows. I've been rebuffed, but other schools have these elements in place, and those unsavory elements that are causing trouble at those schools are not coming to our school. Gentlemen, we can't have that. Our kids are exposed. I mean, the campus is too open, and too much is going on. Myself, Mr. Pringle, we're out there fighting every day, watching out for our school. We can just do so much as parents. So once again, I am appealing to you as parents, as our elected, i.e. appointed representatives. It's uncomfortable to me that we cannot get a squad car at Southwest. Southwest is a huge school. I mean, we've got Rainbow right beside us, so we've got 1,300 Panthers, and then we got 300 future Panthers next door. Those kids are terribly exposed, and I'm not letting this go. Like the lady said earlier, I'm not giving up on this. I talked to our area rep, Mr. Bradshaw. I've talked to Mr. Thurman and Mr. Campbell. This issue was too important to be ignored. The safety of our kids is the utmost important to me. So I'm going to be back at the next meeting and subsequent meetings. I'm not letting this go because this is too important. Our kids are too exposed. The school is too open, and we simply can't have this breach of security at our school. So if you all, I don't want to say it like this, but if you all care at all about the safety of our kids, we can find a squad car. We can find another resource officer. I was told that the monies that were coming to, I talked to the policeman, to the head of police here for the school system. I was told that the monies that were coming to us, we're not going to get them because we were in the red for 3 years. But ladies and gentlemen, we can find a squad car for Southwest DeKalb High School. So on behalf of the Southwest, I thank you for hearing me, and I will see you back the first Monday of next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waddell.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Melissa King Rogers, and I teach at Druid Hills High School. And I've heard a whole lot of fear-mongering rhetoric about the Druid Hills High School cluster that involves all of the feeder schools that go into Druid Hills. For instance, if you believe, as I read in an op-ed in the AJC, that this charter was put together by affluent families to serve the needs of rich white people, then you are buying into a dangerous lie. If you believe what Mr. Shutton has told you tonight, that it's built on quicksand, then I'm your quicksand. This charter was put together by us, your employees, your teachers. We set up a plan with stakeholders to help all students because we're closest to the needs of kids, and we put the plan together. The charter gives teachers ongoing input into curriculum and programming decisions, and that's input that is desperately needed. Let me tell you who's suffering in our school. If you're a general level student or an accelerated student or sometimes an AP Lit student in an English class at our school, you're going to be in a class of 36 students. Last year we even had a math class of 48 students for 2 months. One teacher, 48 kids. In an English class of 36 kids, which is the normal number, 6 students might speak very little English. 5 of those kids might be special ed students who need a lot of individualized attention. And we need smaller classes because one teacher can't meet needs of kids in classes this big. We've been saying this for years, and nothing has changed, so now we're proposing a solution where the board hasn't yet. Less overhead, more classroom personnel, smaller class sizes. Trust us to make it work. I make less money than I did 6 years ago. I have a PhD and 22 years experience, and my husband with a master's degree and less experience than I have makes more money than I do teaching in a private school. Some of us can't pay our mortgages. Some of us have to borrow money from relatives to make ends meet. The charter we wrote immediately raises pay, ends furlough days, and nearly doubles pay towards health care, towards medical insurance. Now, I know the board wants to make education work in DeKalb, and I know we're on the same team. But if you say no to this charter, teachers will hear you saying no to us. The board doesn't have a plan yet, but we're not going to let you implement yours. We will hear teachers, we don't listen to you. Teachers, we do not value you. We teachers have been getting this message, granted from a board that's not you, for years in DeKalb, and we are over it. Last year, Druid Hills lost 15 teachers, and some of those were the best teachers in our school. But we are still here, and we created this plan that inspires us, and we have a lot riding on it. So say yes. Charter law is clear. If we don't do what we said we're going to, we lose the charter. Trust us to try. If you say no to this charter, it's going to break my heart, but you are going to lose us.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Tarika Cooper and David Moore. Okay.
May it please the board. Good evening. My name is David Moore. I'm here as a parent tonight of two young ladies, one of which would attend the charter cluster. And I'm here today to ask you to vote in favor of the charter cluster. And I want to talk about why the charter cluster is in the public interest or in the interest of our community. First, the petition and the way that it's been drafted and the way that it's been organized is going to be a unifying factor for our community, as well as raise performance. Why is it going to be a unifying factor? Well, those that developed the charter cluster decided that instead of taking one school and converting that into a charter, they decided that they were going to take the entire community. And that included schools that were underperforming. And so this charter cluster of 7 schools includes underperforming schools and also achieves the direct goal that some of the commenters have raised tonight. And that is to make sure that we have quality education for all within our cluster district. You might ask, why wouldn't the charter cluster go beyond that? Well, the law says you can't. You can only convert a charter cluster. Second, the charter cluster provides innovation for our students and helps them achieve their success and also the goals for the state of Georgia. For example, every student that's within the cluster is going to be able to choose one of 3 different track areas: IB, Montessori, or the STEAM program, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Very important programs for our future business. As a matter of fact, the business community has been talking about how finding qualified employees is very difficult in the state of Georgia, and it's something that we're losing to other states and also internationally in terms of economic business development. The way the charter cluster is set up, every kid will be able to choose, with their parents' input, one of those 3 tracks. Third, I want to talk a little bit about community involvement. The community is overwhelmingly in support of the charter cluster. That's a factor you should take into account. We literally have had thousands of Facebook hits just since the vote was announced. We also have had hundreds of meetings. They've been inclusive and open to all. I want to talk a little bit about qualifications of our board members. Robert Thorpe was hired by the DeKalb County School District to be the middle school principal, and he has seen the matriculation of about half of the kids in the charter cluster, so he is eminently qualified. We also have Fred Daniels. Fred is the chair of the Martyr Board. The Martyr Board has a budget which is 10 times the size of the charter cluster, and so there will be no issue with being able to resolve budgetary and other issues. We also have Kathleen Mathers, who was in the Governor's Department of Student Achievement, very highly qualified. A vote for is to vote for the future of our children so that they can have a choice, so that they can help this state succeed, help our county succeed, and to help all of us volunteer parents. I'm a volunteer to help them succeed. A vote against is to maintain the status quo. I urge you to vote for the petition. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment, Mr. Moore. Due to time, we will have 2 other comments. Sandy Parquette and Gerard Board. Is Tarika Cooper, did she arrive? She did? Okay, Sandy Parquette and Gerard Board.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Thurman, DeKalb family. I am Sandy Parquette, graduate parent of the great Redan High School, founder of the successful pilot program, and home of the Blue Thunder band, which ranked 5 in the nation. And we still have the prophet, Mr. Greg Goodwin, as our principal. Special thanks to everyone who has supported the pilot program. Dr. Thurman, we look forward to making sure you work with us in our support this year. Our legislative team is just marvelous, and I'm sure that you'll want to know that and work with us. Special thanks to everyone, especially Mr. Trent Arnold for the work done, and Mr. Bradshaw before you left us, with regard to the splash finally affecting the Great Redan. I hope there is room for at least a file cabinet, if not a corner, for the pilot program. We're doing a shoe drive collecting old shoes for community service. I paraphrase a quote from Shirley Chisholm, Unbossed, Unbought, to say, community service is the rent paid for staying on this earth. Please help the pilot program do just that. We're also initiating a leadership group, which we want other youth and leaders to take part of, and take part of this plunge for youth leadership in education. Please don't turn us down on support. Pilot is still thriving, one of our first Bill Gates graduates, which is the fourth year, one of 4 in the record, and that record, ladies and gentlemen, has not been broken. He will be entering Yale School of Business in the fall and on a full ride, as well as graduating from Howard University with the Bill Gates Scholarship. Another graduate has just received her master's in education and foreign language. She was a graduate of Southwest DeKalb and a part of Pilot program. Cheers for board member Donna Edler. We respect you, and we make sure that we will always miss you. Alabama A&M will be here on the 21st. Scholarships will be given, acceptance on the spot. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you madly.
Thank you, Mrs. Percat.
Good evening, Mr. Thurman.
Good.
Board members, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know the tireless work that you all do, oftentimes thankless for a lot of the tough decisions that you're being asked to make. My name's Gerard Borda, and I'm here in support of the Druid Hills Charter Cluster. Now, unlike some of the characterizations that some of you made, I'm not here to bully anyone or to try to take away from other kids. I'm just a parent. I'm a parent who cares about what's important to me, and I make the time to make what's important to me top of mind. And I made the time to help create and to be one of the petitioners that put forth the petition in front of you. To me, I saw a community come together, a community who became engaged and wanted to do something to improve the lives of their children. It wasn't with the intent of trying to segregate, to trying to take away from others, but in fact to be more inclusive, to bring in schools that were underperforming, and to answer questions that we didn't feel was happening in our schools. We heard from disgruntled teachers like Ms. Brown. We heard from inspired teachers like Mr. Mears about the possibilities that they have and the challenges that they've had with working with the DeKalb County school system. I know that a lot of people have come forth and said one way or another what they believe, and I know that it's a tough decision that you all have to make. But I'm here to say that people who care have put the time forth to make this an important part of their life and to put forth a good product that we think is going to help our children. There are people who are qualified. You hear teachers who've given up their time to help make this put together. I myself have a background in education, had worked for Gwinnett County Public Schools and headed up talent retention and management for that organization for a year. I put my expertise into this. I now work for a corporation and I head up leadership development. I bring that to this place, as many of the petitioners who came in brought what they came to bring. Now, I'm a product of public education. My parents were immigrants to this country and believed in making more of themselves. They didn't speak English when they came here. They gave me that opportunity. Through public education, I am who I am. I also, like we heard earlier from other people, had scholarships that helped me get opportunities, and I wouldn't have gotten that if it hadn't been for public education teachers. Now that I've made a success for myself, I have the means to go to private school or send my kids there. But I choose to invest in public education because it's important and I believe in it for all. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be putting my time and my name behind the Druid Hills Charter Cluster. I think it's there for the right reasons, and I'm supportive of it. And there are good people here who are going to make it work. Trust in us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Border. This concludes our portion of community input portion of the meeting. That this time I invite you to stay around for our 7 o'clock business meeting. In 3 minutes.